স্বাগতম সবাইকে welcome to Augmedix presents the next gen leaders the virtual summit in association with IPDC and organized by CKH network. The goal partner is Prime Finance and Investment Limited, and the strategic partners is Jump Asia, Sensei, and Key Leadership Institute. The career partner is Kormo by Google, knowledge partner is rockamary.com, and outreach partner is Youth Institute. So সবাইকে স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের virtual summit. It's a great summit organized by CKH network, and আমার সাথে আছেন guest হিসেবে Mr. Shariful Islam. He works at Morgan Stanley Institutional Equity Investment. Then we have Mr. Shafiqul Islam, who is FCMA and FCA as well. And then we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Andrew Stotz, CFA. He's a CFA charter like myself. He's joining from Bangkok, so he will present our keynote presentation. So Ami Prothome, I would like to give the floor to each of the speakers so that they can introduce themselves about who they are and what they are doing, and how the youth of Bangladesh and around the world can be benefited from in the finance profession. So we'll talk about finance and accounting professions. So I'd like to give the floor to Andrew Stotz. If you kindly introduce yourself, and then Mr. Shafiqul Islam, and followed by Mr. Shariful Islam. So Andrew.
Well, thank you very much, and what an honor it is to be amongst all of you guys and to present to all the students. My name is Andrew Stotz, and I actually am coming to you from Bangkok, Thailand. I've been a financial analyst all my career, nearly 30 years. I have my own business, which is called Stotz Investment Research, and then I also invest in lots of different types of businesses. One of them happens to be a factory in Thailand that I co-founded with a friend of mine. So I've got a lot of fun stuff I'm going to share today's presentation, but also really excited to be able to answer any questions that come from the students and people who are listening in.
Mr. Shafiqul Islam, ACS, FCMA, and FCA, please, if you can introduce yourself.
Great. Thank you, Nafeez bhai. I'm Shafiqul Islam, as you mentioned. I'm a chartered accountant, management accountant, and chartered secretary. Currently, I'm working in my own chartered accountancy firm, Shafiqul Islam and Company. We have also a IT firm called Biz Solution, and I'm also the nominated director of SSD Superstar Group. So it's my pleasure to be present in the panel, and I like to share my thought about the career growth in accounts and finance in Bangladesh, and obviously in the context of global as well. So thanks for time being. I will stay with you for my discussion and other issues.
Thank you, Shafiqul Alam bhai, and Mr. Shariful Islam bhai, if you kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nafeez bhai. I'll echo Andrew as well. It's an honor to be here today. I'm an accountant by trade, but most of my career I've worked in finance. So it's a bit of a bittersweet experience, but I've thoroughly enjoyed and learned. I've started with HSBC and now with Morgan Stanley for the past year. In between, I was with Citco for a couple of years. So based on what Andrew sort of does, Andrew is effectively our client. So I'm on the other side of the business. Well, we look after Andrew type of guys, their investment process and what they do in the market, and making sure that they're regulatory compliant, making sure they're risk and quality compliant. So my experience over the last 12 years has been in this area. I'd be delighted to share any question that comes on my way.
So the panel is well balanced. We have 2 accountants and 2 financial analysts. And the two CFA charters and 2 professional accountants. So I am Nafeez Tarik. I'm a CFA charter holder and also a certified financial risk manager. I have been working in the last 10 years in different buy-side and sell-side companies in Bangladesh. Currently, I'm working as the managing director and CEO at Asian Tiger Capital Partners. We manage mutual funds and institutional portfolio management and do different types of consultancy works like fintech and other things. And also by passion, I'm a teacher. On my free time on Fridays and Saturdays, I teach CFA, FRM, and some of the professional courses and also some of the productivity courses like Microsoft Excel and other things through my own venture, Professional Finance Studies. So I have a lot of interaction with the youths in Bangladesh who want to build career in Bangladesh. So যারা বাংলাদেশে আসলে career build up করতে যাচ্ছে, এবং also many of my students went abroad, taking permanent residency to Canada, US, and other countries. So a lot of youths are working and studying in the finance profession. So we'll be here to answer a lot of the people's questions. And I must thank CKH Network, the great job they have done over the few. It started on 18th, I guess, if you can correct me, Kamal bhai. So, and it will continue till 25th of this month, and it's the biggest virtual career summit, and lot of people from variety of sources from Bangladesh এবং বিভিন্ন country থেকে join করেছেন. So youths of Bangladesh and also from around the world will have the opportunity to learn a lot from this career summit. So at this moment, I'm thanking Kamal Hossain bhai. He has done a great job to organize this. So I would like to invite Andrew to start with his keynote session. So Andrew, over to you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm getting excited to bring to you guys, to everybody, something that I've been working on for the last few years. Some of you listening in may think to yourself, I would like to be a podcast host. Anybody out there think that they'd like to become a podcaster? Well, that was one of the ideas that I had. And today I'm going to share what I've learned from my podcasts. And so please, as I'm speaking, you can type in any questions, send in any questions about anything I'm talking about, or any questions for the rest of us, because I know I'm going to go through this presentation and then we're going to be having a fantastic time answering questions. So I'm going to share my screen and get started. Now, when I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to see you guys in there. So if anything messes up, you just shout out and I'll go and fix it. But I think we'll be fine. So let's get on with sharing this screen. 1 second. All right. Now, can you guys see my screen?
It's coming. Yep, it's there.
Fantastic. All right. So today, and this is an important topic for young people because you don't want to lose your money when you're young. You don't want to lose it when you're old either. So I'm going to teach you 6 ways to lose your money and 6 strategies to win. So where did this come from? Well, on Friday, April 13th, 2018, I wrote, "Dear friend, I want to teach my university students how to reduce investment risk to help them avoid the common mistakes that they would make." I'm talking about all kinds of investments, like investing in stocks, businesses, startups, real estate. And this is what I want to help my students with. So I said, can you help me by answering this question? What was your worst investment and what did you learn from it? I don't need to know the exact details, just the story. Also, I will not use your name. Now, that was the email I sent out on that date. So my question to you is, how many written stories do you think I received from people when they told me about their worst investment ever? If you got access to an area to type in your guess right now. So how many people do you think replied to that? Well, the answer to this question is 500. 500 people sent me their stories of loss. That was April 2018. By July 2018, I had launched my podcast based upon these stories. Since then, I've published more than 230 interviews of many different people, and maybe the next one will be you. In fact, look, our guest, our host was one of my guests, episode 75. So you can hear about Nafeez and his discussion about his worst investment ever. Now, you see, everyone has a story of loss. Even my 81-year-old mother. And there she is. And there she is with me in Bangkok. And there we are also in Bangkok. You see, my mother lives with me here in Bangkok. So today, I would like to welcome you to the show. My worst investment ever.com. Now, I forgot to delete this slide. Whoops. Oh, what am I saying? Andrew, remember to put on your radio voice. Okay, here we go. Hello, fellow risk takers, and welcome to my worst investment ever. Stories of loss to keep you winning. In our community, we know that to win in investing, you must take risks. But to win big, you've got to reduce it. My name is Andrew Stotz from Stotz Investment Research, and I'm here today, and I will present to you the stories told by 6 guests on the show. So here comes my first question from the podcast, and I want you to answer it. And I want to hear you shout it out. Are you guys ready? And same for you panelists. Are you guys ready? Here is the first question. Are you ready to rock? One more time. Yes. Let me hear you. Yes.
Oh, man.
Let's go.
Yes.
All right. So this is my worst investment ever. And in it, I try to teach people that we need to create wealth, grow wealth, and protect wealth. And that is the theme of what we're doing. Now, I got a little handout for you that I think we'll post later, but you can go through the 6 ways. And the first one is the most common mistake that people make. In other words, I have looked at hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and I've come up with the most common mistake that people make, and it is failed to do their own research. I'd like to introduce you to one of my guests, Josiah. And Josiah basically had a new business, and it was to buy low-priced houses, fix them up, and quickly sell them for a profit. You see that house? He then wanted to put that profit into buying properties that he would own and rent out. So there is the house, and there it is again further out. His first mistake was that he became interested in a house that was far away from the city center. Big mistake. Just before he bought the house, he arrived to find water pouring through one of the bathroom ceilings. He told the seller he was backing out of the deal. After some weeks, the seller dropped the price substantially, and he decided to buy the house at that lower price. His second mistake was that he didn't get a proper property inspection before buying. After buying the house, he found that there was termite damage, and he had to fix it. Later, he was walking in the backyard, and he found holes like this big hole in the ground, and he hadn't seen them before. So what happened? He didn't know what they were, so he called out the pest control to come and investigate. And what they found was an armadillo infestation. Have you ever seen an armadillo? It looks like that, and they dig underground. So pest control had to set up armadillo traps to capture and remove the armadillo. More costs. Then Josiah found rotten wood around the windows that needed repairing. By now, the costs were rising. After he got rid of the armadillos, the house was ready for his first potential buyer to view. So he brought the buyer to the house, and when they arrived at the house, the front yard was swarming with a sea of hornets. You see, it turns out that the armadillos that they got rid of were eating the hornets that were living underground. So he had to bring back the pest control and get rid of the hornets. More costs. Now, at month number 5, he finally got an offer. Then the new buyer hired an inspector, the thing that Josiah had skipped during the startup. That inspector found 30 items that needed to be fixed, even after Josiah had already fixed so many things. You see, he didn't do his research. Josiah had no choice but to fix all 30 items. After that, the buyer sent in their appraiser who identified 15 additional things that needed fixing. No choice. He had to fix them. Then, a week before the final sale, the buyer walked through and found 6 new items that needed fixing, including water damage to the basement of the house, which would require Josiah to fix the foundation of the house. Are you exhausted yet? My God, this man, Josiah, is a powerhouse. He had to fix all 6 items, including the big one, the foundation of the house. But it was only 3 days before closing, and when walking in the backyard, Josiah discovered that there was some old underground septic tank, and it had to be removed. Finally, the day came for closing, and Josiah had overcome every obstacle. But just hours before the sale, a fireplace repairman was finishing up his work and decided to vacuum out the black soot from inside the chimney. And guess what? He got it wrong by mistake. He had the vacuum on reverse, and what happened is it blew out all the black powder from the chimney all over the walls. Josiah and his team had to quickly paint the walls. Just 30 minutes before the buyer arrived, Josiah was wiping the black powder off the floor. Finally, he sold the house. So what can we learn from Josiah? First, his is a case study in opportunity costs. He lost $20,000 on the deal, but more importantly, he lost a lot of time. This lost time set him back from achieving his business goals. The lesson is do your research. So how do we make sure that we have a strategy to win? When you're investing in the stock market and other places, write down your research about your investment idea and potential gains. Let's talk about the second way that people lose their money. And it is failed to properly assess and manage risk. This is a critical skill for your life. Let me introduce you to Jeremy Newsom. Jeremy saw a movie called Forrest Gump. Did you see that movie? What a great movie. And he saw that Forrest Gump got rich on Apple stock. And basically, Jeremy begged his father to provide him with some cash to invest. And they had some early big wins. At age 21, he got excited about the hype around investing in silver. He asked his dad for more money because he was going to win again by investing. Unfortunately, he bought just before the peak with no plan on how to manage his risk. To make matters worse, because he invested through a derivative instrument rather than just buying silver, he lost all the money. That's 100% loss on the second big trade of his life. But what Jeremy shared next was what really made his loss painful. And this is one of my episodes where I literally cried on the episode because what he shared, remember where he got the money? He got the money from his dad. Well, it turns out what he lost was 100% of his father's retirement savings. It was painful. So what can we learn from Jeremy? Jeremy only thought about making profits. He didn't consider the downside. And I know later we're going to have a discussion in the panel about your careers and about your future. You've got to think not only about the upside, but also about the downside. Now, if everybody is talking about an investment idea like Bitcoin or something like that, or silver, and the price is shooting up, be careful. Reduce your risk. If you don't know what you're doing, you can lose everything. Also, Jeremy taught us to review your mistakes and try to take emotion out of it. So there you have it. Way number 2, and the solution, the strategy to win, is when you are looking at your risk, rank risks by probability and severity, and then create a risk reduction plan before you invest. All right, let's move on. Number 3, driven by emotion or flawed thinking. I'm going to introduce you to Jim. Jim basically sold his portfolio of U.S. stocks, which had made huge gains since the 2008 crisis. He had basically made a ton of money by investing at the downtime of the 2008 crisis. In mid-2015, he became obsessed with the idea of investing in volatility, which means basically trying to make money from movements, just movements in price. So he started to do research about how he could put this money into trading volatility. Jim's a bright guy, And he did his research, and his research revealed that he could access this volatility through exchange-traded notes in the U.S. With confidence, he invested 50% of the money he made in the gain when the market went up from 2008, all of his money. He was convinced that volatility had hit bottom, a theme that was supported by his research. So what I want you to remember is that Jim here did do his research. He didn't make that mistake. But after 4 months, his investment fell by 40%. This is all the money that he had made. It has already fallen by 40%. But it's only half that he put into the investment. So you would think it would be time to pull out of this investment that just fell by 40%. But no. Jim stuck to the investment because he believed in his research. So what did he do? Even when the market was going against him, he didn't question it. He ignored the market, thinking that the ideas that were opposing his were just people selling research. He didn't listen. So what did he do next? He put the remaining half of his money into the falling investment. By early 2017, he gave up and he sold his whole position, having lost about 70% of his original investment. Back to work. So what can we learn? He did a few things right. He started with a good investment plan. He read research that supported his idea, and he kept on reading and learning. But he should have listened to the other side of the story, the side that didn't support his idea. Learn to reduce this overconfidence bias. No matter how much you know or how successful you have been in the past, don't practice this information selection bias, which basically means that you need to include all information in your assessment, especially when it's a stop or go moment. And make sure if research contradicts your initial thesis that you're reading it. In other words, particularly when you're young, I'm thinking about for the panelists here, one of the ideas to talk about is that confidence that we have when we're young. And I was interviewing a guy this morning that wrote a book called Supremely Confident, I think was the name of it. But it was a great discussion where he was talking about how confident we are when we're young. But as we get older, we lose our confidence because we get the reality. Always listen to the stock market and don't think that you can beat it, even with a lot of research. It's tough. All right. So there you go. That's number 3. And we can set a strategy to win by finding, explore, and list opposing views to yours and discuss with a knowledgeable and objective person. When you're so excited about something you're doing, check it out with someone else. All right. We are now on to number 4 of 6 ways to lose your money and 6 strategies to win. This one is called misplaced trust. So I want to introduce you to Azran. Azran is from Malaysia. And basically, he pioneered the long-haul, low-cost airline model as the founding CEO of AirAsia X. He took it from startup to $1 billion in revenue, 2,500 staff, and a public IPO in the Malaysian stock market in 2013. And he did all that in 6 short years. He's truly an impressive guy. And you can go on LinkedIn and follow him there. And he's always got great words of wisdom. But his famous boss, Tony Fernandez, who is the AirAsia chief, believed that executive stock options put all the risk on shareholders. So in 2007, he urged Azran as CEO to invest his own wealth rather than be awarded stock options. Of course, Azran's not as rich as the famous founder. So Azran put everything he had in, but it was not enough. So the founder helped him get a bank loan so he could go all in with all he had, plus what he could borrow. To this day, Azran still believes in having skin in the game because it forces the management team to see through troubles and be creative. But in this case, he was definitely overexposed to this one asset. Later, just before the IPO, he followed his investment banks. Now, listen carefully about this one. This one is critical. He followed his investment bank's advice to place his original shares with them as security so he could borrow more money from them and then use that to buy more shares at the IPO price. The bank basically told him the fact that you're also buying at the IPO price would look so good to the IPO buyers in the stock market. Well, the good news is it all worked out. because at the time of the IPO, he earned 6 times his money on paper. And this is an important thing to remember. And I think from the panelists, we can talk about unrealized versus realized gains. By 2014, the management team had thoughtfully but aggressively invested all the $300 million IPO proceeds to double the company's fleet of planes. No extra cash. This was a massive bet. Also, they doubled down on the strategy of targeting 70% of the revenue coming from China and Australia. But then tragedy struck. 3 airline disasters and many lost lives. We had an airline disaster in 2014 of Malaysian Airline. We had an airline disaster also in July of 2014 of Malaysia Airline. And finally, there was an Air Asia flight that crashed into the sea. All this tragedy brought Air Asia X into loss. The share price kept going down. Of course, the CEO, as a CEO, he couldn't sell his shares. It would be bad PR to have the CEO selling his shares. Imagine what the shareholders would think. He injected more cash from his savings to increase his shareholding. The share price kept going down. Eventually, all his shares were taken and sold by the bank. And Azran resigned as CEO. In the end, he suffered a personal 7-digit US dollar cash loss. I put it down there, 7 digits, to see what it means. So what can we learn from Azran? The management team failed to factor in the risk of allocating the funds they had raised at IPO to double down on a new airline model. This attracted more market entries and thus increased competition. Also, the first 2 tragedies were at other airlines, but still had a big impact. The knockout blow was the Air Asia crash. He trusted the advice of his mentor and he leveraged himself going into the creation of Air Asia X. He trusted the advice of investment bankers who helped him borrow off of his current shares to buy more IPO. He trusted in the strategy he and his team came up with, focused mainly on China and on Australia markets. So I want you to think about avoiding or minimizing personal debt. It's a critical thing for your whole career. Don't start it in debt and don't get yourself in debt. Be wary of what banks or investment bankers tell you or advise you to do. They receive their fees and commissions even if your business suffers. Have a backup plan. Every organization or individual should have a backup plan or alternative way to survive or recover from loss. So there you have it. Number 4, misplaced trust. So how can we set up a strategy to win? Get to know the person you're investing with. Trust only develops over time. We're almost done. We are now at number 5, failed to monitor their investment. I want to introduce you to David Stein. He has a great podcast called Money for the Rest of Us. I highly recommend it. He's so good at it. I listen to it every time it comes out. David's from the US, and his worst investment ever happened as he was transitioning into retirement. You can see his gray hairs right there. He visited a hedge fund's office, and a hedge fund can trade any asset on any market. And the trading area was just buzzing with excitement. And this atmosphere awoke his interest in trading. He believed that trading wasn't that hard. He had had 15 years of investment experience, and curiosity saw him trade in commodity futures and currency options. Despite some considerable study and his lengthy experience in investing, being a trader turned out to be a lot harder than he had expected. And I highlight that this is an important message because David is experienced and damn smart. How could the rest of us survive in that situation? David started trading after a long career. That career gave him a massive amount of expertise and experience. And I want to mention for the panelists and for those listening, that we all have experienced a young person that comes to us and says, I'm going to trade in Forex. I'm going to trade in this. I'm going to do this. And they have no clue about the risk, but David knew the risks. Most people know nothing when they start. So if a financial expert finds trading hard, how do you think it will go for a beginner? Well, one day, David had enough, stopped trading altogether, having made little profit. But he forgot to close a trade he had set to automatically buy silver when it fell to a certain price. The silver price continued to fall and eventually hit that price that David had set. So the order was executed and he automatically bought silver. By the time he realized what had happened, he had lost $25,000. And according to David, what made the loss more painful was that I should have known better. So what can we learn from David? Don't be a trader, but if you must, start off with very small amounts of money and be prepared to lose all that money. Remember that trading is speculation. In the beginning, use shadow or paper portfolios. Don't risk real money until you fully understand the market. So how do we protect ourselves from failing to monitor the investment? We follow a regular, predetermined monitoring process for our investment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the last, number 6 way to lose your money? It is invested in a startup company. All right, I want to introduce you to Viola Llewellyn. She's an amazing woman. She started a company with her business partner, Marvin Cole. And basically, they wanted to create the first peer-to-peer lender to help African SMEs gain access to capital. Viola mapped out their dream and in 2013 successfully convinced friends and family to invest. I love this picture. So there she was, off to the races. In 2014, they decided to go to a big conference, introduce their idea, and try to raise money. Before the event, she created an awesome presentation and sent it to the list of committed conference attendees. The responses were fantastic. At the event, one investment firm attending loved her idea, and soon after, she signed and received their money. It was a remarkable success. In fact, the romance started beautifully with trips to London, meetings with the investment partners, and meetings with other companies the firm had invested in. All glamour. So her big mistake during that courtship was she only talked to references recommended by the investment firm. This is an important lesson. People will give you recommendations in your life and in your career. And they'll say, well, just call so-and-so and find out how great I am. Well, of course, so-and-so is someone that's going to say, this person's great. She didn't search out those who had misunderstanding, contract disputes, and breakups with the firm. She knew only the good side of the story. She received the first tiny equity injection from the firm, and soon after the firm agreed to provide the full $12 million. She was now ready to go off to the races again. With the excitement of the money coming, the $12 million coming, she returned to African SMEs and confidently committed to providing them $60 million of funding. She was promoting her company in Africa with billboards, press appearances, and a marketing blitz. She and her business partner appeared as the new heroes of the fourth industrial revolution. Then it came time for the $12 million to arrive in the bank account, and guess what? She asked, where's that money? Crickets. Nothing. She said, where's that money? And they said, we're trying to work some things out. Where's that money? She asked again later. And she started to see people leaving their jobs at the investment firm. People she had talked to were quitting. She asked, where's that money? And the firm slowed the flow of documents to her to review and sign. She asked, where's that money? The firm started to change the interest rates that they were charging her startup. She asked again, where's that money? The firm put tougher clauses into the documentation. She had all that demand from the SMEs and she still had no money to fund it. Eventually, she had to accept that the money wasn't coming, which meant she couldn't provide any of the promised funding to the SMEs in Africa. She had to scramble, make excuses, tighten her risk parameters on the SMEs, and ultimately had to tell inspiring entrepreneurs in Africa that she could not finance their dreams. Her stomach was tied in knots every night. Her pride shrunk to a thumbnail. Her husband was having to work extra and had exhausted his retirement savings. She had to walk through the horror of admitting failure and facing the demons in her head that were shouting, African businesses are failures. Black people can't manage business. Women can't manage businesses. Microfinance doesn't work. She also had to face those loyal friends and family who had originally bought into her idea. She had to fight all of those battles and rescue her pride. All of her dreams were spinning out of control. It was terrifying, embarrassing, and shameful. So what can we learn from Viola? Through all of this, her business partnership with Marvin stayed together. She learned that the strength of an investment relationship is how well you can recover during hard times. Also, we can learn that the first capital you raise should be the beginning of the next capital you raise. Always be raising capital. This is because of what she called the startup paradox. When a company needs capital, they can't get it. When they don't need it, it's everywhere. So never stop raising capital for your little startup. Don't make all or nothing bets. Instead, take incremental steps so that a problem at one step won't destroy your whole business or your whole life. People can tolerate and forgive a bad outcome if you are straight with them at every stage. Build trust with all stakeholders through honesty, openness, and transparency throughout any crisis period. Viola had a lot of lessons that she taught us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the origin story of how Viola and Marvin pivoted into their now successful business, Ovamba, which provides capital to businesses in Africa and emerging markets. So there you have it. The final way of losing money is to invest in a startup, and the sixth strategy to win is to start with this reality when you're investing in startups, that you are likely to lose everything. And that concludes my presentation.
So it's a fascinating presentation by Andrew Stotz. I had always high hope about Andrew when he presents something. So I already had a huge expectation about this presentation. But despite that high hope and high expectation, Andrew even beat today about the expectation I already had. So great presentation, great stories. We have learned a lot. So we must thank Andrew for such a great stories he talked about, and we learned a lot of lessons, because always when we talk about investments and research, we want to talk about the success stories, and people take like cherry pick like success stories, like I have done these, but they don't talk about their failures. But it is what we learn from our failures often more than what we learn from our successes. And Andrew has finally, it's like the way he has presented this, and we learned a lot. So thanks, Andrew. We will come back to you later on about a lot of questions. So at this moment, at this moment, I would like to ask Mr. Shafiqul Bhai to talk about his career, what he does, and how young people can benefit it from what you do. If they want to be like you, what are the activities they can take, and what are the mistakes people do early in their careers, and how they can move on. So if you can talk about something about your role and how about the accounting profession, so then our audience will be highly benefited from your discussions. Shafiqul Islam, over to you.
Thank you, Nafeez bhai. Basically, when I just completed my graduation, many of my friends have joined in MNCs and large companies. So they immediately earn money, earn money. But what I had to do, I have admitted into chartered accountancy firm, and side by side I had to complete my MBA as well. So my friends who have just completed their graduation, start job, they earning money. And at that time, I had to stay another 3.5 years for my CA articleship. And as Shariful Bhai is there as well, being a chartered accountant, it's mandatory to have a articleship under any chartered accountancy firm. So what at the end of my articleship period, when I qualified being a chartered accountant, I joined in the job sector. For a chartered accountant, there are two options. You can have your own practicing firm, and you can be in the industry. So there is two part. One is a practicing chartered accountant, and other is they are doing job for others, like joining any MNC as a finance manager, head of finance, like that. So it is a tough call for any especially accounting background graduate people, whether they pursued for a professional degree or they start their job. That is that at that point everyone have had a dilemma, because there is a opportunity to earn money immediately, because pursuing BBA accounting from a reputed university, public university in Bangladesh, they can start join in a bank or any MNC company or even local company. They start with a very reasonable amount of money. So we had to wait for at least 3-4 years to further education, like completing my charter accountancy. Side by side I had to complete my MBA as well. So that is the beauty of this profession, because as per Mr. Andrew's presentation, so he particularly mentioned something, especially the feasibility of any investment decision. So if I want to compare education or career as an investment, so I can easily relate it a person who just completed his graduation, whether she start doing job with a 30K, 40K, 50K thousand, or he or she should wait for pursuing any professional degree, like a finance people can pursue for CFA, a accountant, that is chartered accounting, BBA in accounting or management, or even finance, they can pursue chartered accountancy or ACCA or CIMA, anything. So if they invest their another 3 to 4 years for pursuing any professional degree, that will pay off. Because Mr. As it was a very fantastic presentation, investing in properties and investment in different portfolio, but it is also very important to invest in your education or in your career plan. So I have I done so, because I didn't join any firm initially. I just completed my CMA within 2 years. I took very short time. Then I joined a multinational company that is called Sanofi Bangladesh. Previously, it was not Sanofi; it was Phison's Bangladesh and Sanofi Aventis Bangladesh Limited. Now it's Sanofi. Then when I qualified CMA, then I start again joining PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, for pursuing my charter accountancy. So another 2 years I have to invest. So being as you know, if you just observe how many CFO or head of finance converted their position into CEO, it's global. If you consider global trend, many if you consider the Fortune 500 companies, almost for more than 40% of the global Fortune 500 CEO came from the finance background, especially accounting and finance. So if you want to be a CFO for your goal and ultimate goal to be a CEO of any company, so you need to invest for a professional degree. Like Shariful bhai is a CPA, you CFA, and obviously our presenter, keynote speaker, he's a academician as well as is a CFA. So that is the suggestion for the young people. They can immediately earn money, but my suggestion, who can run his educational expense and living cost, especially in Bangladesh. If you consider in Dhaka, like Kamrul bhai, me, all are coming from a rural, at least for a district places, like I'm from. So we have to settle Dhaka for our graduation. Then we have to pursue for because we came from a very middle class family. So our family is sometimes it's very costly to after completing my graduation or masters. Still we have to study for 4 or 5 years. It's sometimes difficult. But any young people who just completed her graduation or masters, if they can alternative arrange their living cost and education cost, I think it is wise to have pursue for any professional degree. So that is the initial thing.
So just my one question related to this, you talked about like professional degrees like chartered accountancy or chartered financial analyst. So people can decide whether they want to go for accounting or finance. In fact, when I grew up, when I started my like SSC and HSC, I did not know about finance much. I did not know about CFA. So and আমাদের কান্ট্রিতে চার্টার্ড অ্যাকাউন্টের একটা হিস্ট্রি আছে এবং তারা বেশ well reputed in the society. CFA এর হিস্ট্রিটা আমাদের দেশে ওরকম বড় না. So I thought I would like to pursue chartered accountancy, but when I started studying in finance, Dhaka University, and also I knew that if I start my chartered accountancy after completing my BBA, so I thought about that opportunity cost. Like if I go for the chartered accountancy, I have to spend 3 years or 4 years, and those it's like the payments are very small. We are talking about chartered accountancy. I'm at my office, and in front of me, people from Hudavasi actually accounting auditing my funds. So the funds we manage, they are auditing. So at that moment, you don't earn much. So obviously, I thought about that. Obviously, opportunity cost of my starting doing chartered accountancy will be more. So I went for the CFA, because the beauty of CFA and also SCC and other things, you can do that while you are studying or while you are doing your job. So I've gone for that. But my question is really to you: why people need a professional designation? They are studying in universities, learning. Why they need to go for professional designation? If people don't go for professional designation, what they might lose, or what are the alternative cost and benefit of not doing it?
Basically, for any academic degree like BBA, MBA, as you do BBA from Dhaka University, I also do my BBA and MBA from public university, Khulna University, and then BBA, MBA from Dhaka University. So fact is that for any academic degree, there is mostly theoretical part. But when I pursuing for a CA, there is a interesting course curriculum, because for the first 6 months or 1 year, I could not sit for exam. I have to do the practical training. So when the CA, especially particularly, I also a qualified management accountant, CMA, and also a chartered secretary. But if you compare the SCCA, CIMA, chartered secretary, this and with compared to chartered accountancy, this particular profession is interesting because you have to have a hands-on practical experience alongside your academic part. So this sort of academic versus top level executive, because as you mentioned that Hudavasi is your auditor. So a person who just completed his BBA, joined Hudavasi as an article student, he had the opportunity to meet with Nafeez Al Tarik, the CEO of any company. So that sort of huge exposure for the chartered accountants, especially for the big firms like like me, PwC, KPMG, Hudavasi, that sort of firm. So that is the main difference, I think. Other than that, academic, because it's complementing. Because when I do a BBA, MBA, it helps to pass my CMA, CA, chartered secretary, because it is complementing. Not like that, it not help, because a person from a history background or a English literature or a political science, if they decide, we have, because if you consider Bangladesh chartered accountancy, 80% came from accounting or finance background. Apart from this 20%, 10 maybe other faculties of business faculty like marketing, and the 10% is basically a different background, like civil engineer from BUET, political science, history, English literature. But they have had to face a hurdle because they have not the basic background or the foundation of accounting, finance, all these things. During our BBA and MBA period, we have almost, the 28 subject of almost the finance, accounting, almost similar. Or if you consider the accounting subjects and the finance subjects, 6 core subjects are different. Apart from these 22 subjects are common at our time. I don't know what is your, but basically we have that principal accounting, intermediate accounting, we have the basic finance, we have the basic finance and the advanced finance as well, that is portfolio management. So we had to read the that is strategic management, we had to strategic management accounting. So that sort of things, we when we sit for the CA exam, it helps a lot for the academic background. But for any professional degree, it mature your academic background, it will add value to your academic background. So any person who started after completing her BBA or MBA job, he may be the CFO or CEO of any company, but his solid background sometimes it's difficult to do as a CEO. But when you have a solid academic background as well as a professional degree, it helps you a lot to be the top of any organization. Nafeez bhai.
Thank you for such a detailed answer, Shafiqul bhai.
Right.
So my next question is related to my. I would invite Shariful Islam. He's also he's an FCCA, so in the same profession. He's working at Institutional Equity Division of Morgan Stanley. So if you kindly discuss about your job roles and how people can learn from you, and what are the activities and how they can prepare themselves to move towards what you do. Shariful bhai, over to you.
And just to add also the global career, a lot of questions were coming here, we're getting here, how they can actually prepare for working for globally. So they're inspired by watching you. So would you please address that as well? Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you, Nafeez bhai. I think I'm gonna try. The time is obviously precious. I'm gonna try and keep it a balance between my career versus where what are the opportunities out there. So I'm not going to fully focus on my career unless somebody has any specific questions, right? That's going to be my. So I think virtually every business. The good news is virtually every business, whether it's big corporate, public, private, sole trader, we all need some form of accountancy and finance in their operation, and that's a very good news. So effectively, anyone who would like to be part of this industry, there is always a demand. The second legacy of this industry is by the transformation over the last 20 years. We need people from every background. That's my personal opinion. I think that the whole old cliche, you got to be nerdy, you got to be number frantic, you need to be overly technically solid. I don't think that's basically. I don't think the industry is literally for those kind of people. I think industry is quite wide. I think that it spans from risk, compliance to legal to product dev to client relationship to operations. So if anybody, so what I do in my current role, I qualified as an ACCA, but I worked as a in the finance of a small construction firm back when I was in college for about a couple of years. Then I moved into this finance. It's almost a fund service. So what we do is we provide, in a simplified way, we provide basically bookkeeping and accounting support to someone like Nafeez and Andrew, what you guys do. So we provide your book because for regulatory reason, you're not obviously able to keep your book and track your book and report to the regulators. So we come as a third-party administrator to provide you full suite service. So that depends on from client to client and the size of the investment to what level of service you need, whether you need front office service, back office service, middle office service, and you need risk or regulatory service. So when I say front, back, and a middle office service, it's basically trade, it's basically client relationship, it's basically looking after reconciliation platforms to our own vendors, and then obviously client relationship is basically managing their expectation, their investor processes, their product development, their product launch, and obviously reporting the investment prices to the respective vendors. So that spans out from hedge funds to mutual funds to traditional funds to index fund to ETFs and private equity. Obviously, hedge fund is now getting more and more regulated since the 2008 crisis. Therefore, private equity and ETF in more concentrated liquid funds are getting more popular, particularly in Europe. So that's my role. My role is quality assurance risk reviews. What I do is I look after from a client launching product to transitioning to making sure they're compliant with the risk regulator, the audit, and right down to their operation. And we're on the back office, so we don't deal with our client on a day-to-day basis unless there is a need to, because we've got our front office team who looks after the client request and the client facing side. It's a very interesting role. It's very broad and very wide. So that's my current role. But for prospective candidate in the finance industry, what I'd like to basically say, you got to know yourself. I think that's where it starts. You got to know yourself. Don't jump in and do any qualification just because that's the market trend. Try and know yourself, what you're into. Try and know, what you're interested in. There's more. There's a lot of choices out there. You've got your traditional start. You've got your ACCA. You've got your CMA. You've got your CA. Then you've got your CFA. You've got your CIA. You've got COSEC. You can be a COPRSEC, charter COPRSEC. You can be risk and compliance. So it's pretty broad at the moment. So don't shrink yourself to the most popular one just because that's what everybody else is doing. But if that's where not your skill sets, if that's where not you're familiar, that's not what you're comfortable with, that doesn't go, because your core technical knowledge, as much as core technical knowledge is important, your soft skill is very important, very, very important. How and that's what gives you the edge to develop your career. That's what gives you the edge to work with people from different backgrounds, different size, different color, different language. Everybody, you have to work with everybody to try and get the best out of them. And the way you do it, that helps your soft skill. And you have to blend them together. So know yourself, do your research, what you're good at, what feels right for you. And we've got people in our industry, coming from finance background, but they're in the sales because they are those happy, chappy, lovely guys. They're good looking, they wear lovely suits, they look lovely, they go out and talk to people, wine and dine, and make sure we get their business. I mean, no point in having that guy on the back office sitting in a computer desk and trying to basically use calculators or a spreadsheet. That's not going to work. So as a global leader, then it's our job to make sure, when we have a team, to make sure we have the right people in the right part of the process. So the good news is we have places. I think this industry is very broad. We need everybody, people from any background. I mean, I've often hired graduates. I've often hired graduates from different backgrounds just because they studied business and accounting and finance. And I've often hired graduates from psychology because they've had that edge, that extra edge, who I felt I could connect to. And that opens up a big conversation about cultural fit. That opens up I'm not going to delve into that. Let's park that. I'll wait for the questions. So again, if takeaway points, know yourself, do your research, do what feels right for you. The industry is quite broad. Don't shrink yourself to the best popular qualification just because everybody else is doing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Now, I would like to ask a question to Andrew, because Andrew is devoted his life in the finance industry, and now he's actually teaching. So after 30 years of career in the financial services industry as an analyst, now you are teaching many people, and it's why you are going for that, and why your teaching is actually supplementing or complementing with the traditional study that we are getting from universities and also in some professional degrees, and what you teach about and how people can be benefited from your teaching. So what you do in your institute is can you brief us about that?
Sure. Thanks for the question. And I was talking with Kamal earlier, and I just launched the Women in Valuation Scholarship, which we're going to offer 100 scholarships for the listeners to this podcast or to this interview, as well as to others. So that's a pretty exciting opportunity. But I started the valuation masterclass because I taught equity valuation all my career while I was an analyst and a head of research on weekends and on evenings. I'm like you, Nafeez, that I love talking and presenting and sharing my knowledge. And I felt, when I was young, I wasn't very confident. I felt like I didn't really know, everybody out there was so smart and they knew all these things. So part of the whole teaching aspect for me, and I know we've talked about this before, that we gain so much from teaching. So I love it. But what I did is about 7 years ago, I stopped teaching my equity valuation at university and I moved it all online. And the purpose of the online course, which I call the Valuation Masterclass, is to teach the specific skill of valuation. And I think that the lesson that I've learned over the years is that you really, and I think, what we just heard about, the idea of there's a place for everybody. And, you don't want to take the happy chappy guy and put him back on the computer. And you don't want to take the computer program and put him in front of the client. You got to put people in the right place. And I think the challenge for a young person is to figure out what it is that you really enjoy, what it is that you're good at. And, I found that to be an equity analyst. My first day on the job, it took me a couple of years before I got that job. I was 28 years old. I can literally remember the first week on the job. And I can tell you that I knew I was in the right place. And from that day till today, I have been an analyst at heart. And, the lesson that I learned over the years too, is that, the discussion, for instance, about that admin work and getting the support and how you run a fund or how you, all the back office stuff. If I had to run all that stuff, our business is going to crash. So I really had to focus myself in on what value do I have to add? What do I really love to do? And it's truly valuation and selling my research ideas and thoughts. And in the Valuation Masterclass, I teach that very skill. It's an extremely difficult course. It takes 200 hours to complete. And the scholarships that I'm offering are basically about $1,000 worth of value. So, but it's tough. And I think that the point is that from that perspective, the key is find what you like, find what you enjoy, find what you're good at, and then focus on that. And as you do that, I'd like to, if you could let me tell you a quick story. I think the listeners will like this story and you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
Is it as good as Forrest Gump?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
If you want to talk about the scholarship offer, so you can talk about it as well. Yep. We will give the email address for the applications and you can talk about it as well. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what I want to tell you is a story. I went out to lunch with my sister. We went to a coffee shop. We were sipping coffee and we looked at the wall and I said, that's a beautiful picture on the wall, a painting. And my sister said, you know what? I painted that. I said, what? I said, how did it get here? And she said, I painted that painting and I put it up for sale and this place bought it for $200. I was like, that's crazy. I can't paint. She has the skill of painting. I said to her, why don't you do that? Why don't you become a painter? Every day you can go in the basement and you can paint and then you can sell your stuff online. It's so awesome. And she looked at me and she said one thing that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And that is, she said, I don't like painting. And the lesson I learned from that was that do what you like to do. Even if you're good at something, it doesn't mean that that's your life passion. My sister is a real estate broker, not a real estate broker, but a mortgage broker, helping people get loans. And she loves to help people talk on the phone. So the point that I think the lesson is, find what you really love. And for me, I love valuation. For people that want to apply for the Valuation Masterclass, the Women in Valuation Scholarship, I just opened it up yesterday. And in 24 hours, I've already gotten 100 applications from around the world. And basically, my goal is to help women who want to build the skill of valuation in the Valuation Masterclass. They will value my students value 20 companies. It takes about 200 hours. It's a tough course, but at the end, they're going to have the skills of valuation. We've had more than getting close to 2,000 students that have gone into the class, and I want to keep growing it. And I love sharing that stuff. So yeah, find what you love.
So that means that you're offering at least 100 students from CKH network to apply for that, and you're going to give them this scholarship, right? The opportunity to learn and then apply and then have job in globally.
It's
right.
Crazy. 100 scholarships at a value of $1,000 each. It's a great opportunity. And the point is the skills that you'll learn in that course are skills that are going to be able to be used globally, because you'll be valuing companies across the world, and the valuation skills are valuable.
It's 200 hours of program. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, and also going to ask Nafeez bhai and also Sharif bhai as well. So what do you think? So this is just, as Andrew just given the opportunity for 100 scholarship for 100 women. And if it is 150, we're not going to entertain, if we have more applications, let's say we have, 200, I'm sure those are watching right now, they're really excited because they're saying, wow, and they're looking forward. If it is 150, will you going to accept it from CKH network? Let's make it clarifying it first.
Kamrul, when I first met you, you were such an ambitious guy, and I heard your ambitions to help young people, that you inspire me. So if we get more than 100 applicants, I will definitely consider those applicants. So yes, let's get as many as we can, and I'll do my best.
Thank you. So we will give the email, where you will send us the application, and then we will process it. After screening, we will give it to Andrew for the final. So guys, those are watching right now from our office, can you put the email address, our email address, so that they can start applying for that, our CKH network email address. So you'll get it. So wait for it. So what is the opportunity looks like? Can you talk about it, Shariful bhai? What do you think about how they could apply this opportunity, and also Nafeez bhai as well? What it really means.
Okay,
this kind of opportunity.
You first. Yeah, you first.
মানে অ্যান্ড্রুর অপরচুনিটির কথা বলতেছেন তো না?
Correct. So how
I think it's a very, very generous and a very very thoughtful support that Andrew has put forward. I think everybody should grab these opportunities, because learning is never wasted. Learning is always important. We're all learning every day, and if you look back 20, 30 years ago, possibly when Andrew probably did his qualification, or when he was at the start of his career, I don't think he had those platforms.
Not at all.
Not at all. So it's a very, very important, and I think it's a very generous offer. So thank you to Andrew on behalf of everybody, and from myself. So I think it should definitely help you connect. It might help you along the way to my point and Andrew's point, to get to know yourself, because that's something you might like, and that's something you might not like. But the only way to find out is put yourself forward for it, and that's very important.
And some people have asked me about the scholarship. Is there any requirement? There is simply no requirement except a passion to learn valuation. I start from the beginning. So even if somebody's an engineer and they want to learn, they can through this course.
Fantastic. So this is the email address. This is the email address, info@ckhnetwork.com. So there, everybody, please note it down and apply here. So only recommend is, you said you're going to give it for women, right? So women is the right, and from any discipline they can apply, right? If they have passion to learn. Fantastic. Yeah. There you go.
I know some men will ask, what about the men's scholarship? And that will come later. But for right now, we're going to focus on helping women.
Fantastic.
I was just about to say you're probably a feminist. It's fair to say that, Andrew, is it?
Well, I live with my 82-year-old mother.
He's
and
a
surrounded by
lifetime
women.
bachelor. Andrew is a lifetime bachelor, so he can. So it's like it's a very good opportunity for young people because
Absolutely.
if I analyze like from my experience when I started my career, so regarding valuation, people have a lot of misconceptions. They think, okay, it's easy, it can be done, or I have studied in my BBA or MBA, or I have studied even CFA. I learned a lot of things about valuation. But I have seen many people have done all these things and coming to the practical field and doing the valuation. Then there are a lot of nitty-gritty issues. There are a lot of practical issues. And even every company is different. People study certain things in books, but when it comes to analyzing like banks, Andrew was a bank analyst as well. So analyzing bank is quite different compared to analyzing a pharmaceutical industry and analyzing a telco industry. So when it comes to different sectors, you have different types of skills that you needed, and you can only learn from practitioners who have years of experience. So Andrew has 30 years of experience. I have around 10 years of experience. So when we teach, we can bring a lot of things that we can bring into the table. Last year, I conducted a valuation masterclass in Bangladesh because, and we analyzed Bangladeshi companies in different sectors because Bangladeshi companies has quite different compared to other countries. Like here, corporate governance is an issue. Rules are not being complied all the time. Risk factors, idiosyncratic risk we talk about, that is much more higher in Bangladesh. And if you invest in Bangladesh, you can't invest globally because we can't invest because our capital account is not convertible. So we can't diversify globally. So when it comes to managing risk, it is even more difficult. So when we brought all this experience and we bring like professional practitioners who has done it, so people got a lot of value. So an intense course on valuation can teach all those things that you can't get from like studying in books and universities. So when you talk about different things with the practitioners, it's a great value. And also with that, I also teach CFA and FRM. So people with the CKH network may not know about what value we can provide in terms of studying professional degrees like chartered financial analysts or financial risk managers. And I and Andrew both are like CFA volunteers. He works at he is volunteering at the Bangkok CFA Society, and I'm volunteering in the Bangladesh CFA Society, and we met in different events. So my next question is related to like once you have studied in universities and done your professional designation, you're fine, but that's not the end of the story. That's where you are extremely confident, young years, like I can do anything. But as you grow older, your confidence becoming reducing, as Andrew told about that. How important are different types of soft skill? Shariful I talked about. When it comes to soft skill, different people think different things. So can you describe about different types of soft skill? So my question to Shariful regarding the soft skill needed in the finance and industry profession, and also my question to Andrew, what are the soft skill needed for an analyst, especially the selling skill? Because when we talk about valuation and analyzing, we think about spreadsheet, analyzing, calculation, maths, but it's extremely important to tell the narratives of the company. So how important is that? So a question to both of you on different aspects. So if Shariful starts first, then Andrew can discuss about it.
Definitely. Thank you, Nafeez bhai. I think the soft skill, again, it's a very broad area. Human characteristics is quite broad. We're all different. We all approach same thing quite differently. We can all go into a movie. We can all watch the same movie, but we can all come out with different perspective, and that's the beauty of it. So I think it starts in finance. It starts with communications. You got to be a great communicator, and effective communication is a key. You're dealing with people internally day in, day out. You're dealing with people externally periodically, and possibly day in, day out. Depends on your role. Communication is very key. So understanding what people ask, understanding what needs to happen, understanding what sort of support and resource you need, and what are the key risk areas. That's very key. Asking the right questions is very important. These are key attributes to effective communication. Listening is another part of great communication. You got to listen to the question first to understand what's required, and that can be your client, that can be your peers, that can be your colleagues, that can be anybody. So you need to listen before sort of prepare your premeditated answer. You need to find out what the ask is. The second soft skill that's very important is problem-solving skill. And that comes from critical thinking. I mean, how do you critically think? Obviously, then you got to analyze, like Andrew, I think, took us through six very valuable points. And every sort of step, that the main point here is you have to evaluate the pros and cons. You need to understand what the downside is as well as the upside. And that's how you critically evaluate things. You have to look at all possible aspects to make yourself make sure you have all information you can, so you can make an informed decision. And that comes with, then that leads to your problem solving, decision making, and problem solving. These are very key attributes, soft skill, that any business and finance professional, leader, manager, doesn't matter what level you are, we all need. The third is obviously that builds on from your own personal life. You got to be, you have to have your integrity and honesty intact. You have to exercise. You need to make sure, because beyond the numbers, there's a lot of common sense that we all apply. Beyond numbers and the spreadsheets and the PDFs and system, we all apply a lot of common sense, and that's a very Andrew, you can correct me. That's a very, I think it's probably not mentioned enough. A lot of people takes it at finance. Oh yeah, it's a lot of spreadsheet, a lot of books, a lot of study, a lot of calculators, a lot of numbers. But beyond that, we do exercise a lot of common sense on a daily basis, and you do need a personal level of integrity and honesty. And that's, again, that needs to come from you. What's your integrity? What's your honesty level? What morally right for you? What morally not right for you? And then good work ethics, very important. Good work ethic is very important. That comes from being on time. That comes from making promises that you can keep. Making sure that you don't make promises that you can't keep. Making sure that you take on a job that that you're able to take on, making sure if you can't finish it, you escalate early. So I think to understand the overall picture and to allow your good work ethic to help yourself and the people you work with is a very good attribute to have. And oftentimes the question always comes across you'd often find, and that's a very classic one, you work in a team, and depends, obviously the role diverse. We're working all in a very ever-changing world. Change is happening every day. We all have to adapt. You'd often find somebody ACCA qualified, somebody CA qualified, and somebody probably CFA qualified. But someone probably just had a graduate BBA or probably an MBA or probably an MA, who basically promoted before somebody who had a professional qualification. And that's often a classical situation where that it's not always true. A qualified person will always progress and develop in the right way. There are other people who has the edge, who has the soft skill attributes that the role might require, who has the edge to promote and develop their career quicker than the others. So soft skills are very important. Definitely, some of those that I've listed are definitely the key skills that I foresee in my current role, and that's what we require, because the world is changing, business is changing, environment is changing, regulator is changing almost every day, and we have to adapt accordingly.
So you talked about many different soft skills, but how one can learn that? It's like if you like, give some suggestions. How can I learn those?
I can give this suggestion if you allow me. Then you can add also. We are actually giving, like Andrew gave us like is about 1 crore taka worth of scholarship. So one of the American company is a foundation, Wadhoni Foundation. They have given us $100 million worth of platform. So they have invested to that platform more than $100 million. That means more than 800 crore taka to design and develop the soft skills. And they have done the research on 1,100 organizations and came up 8 different skills, what is needed for today and tomorrow from the organization. Not that what I think, the problem solving, critical thinking, digital literacy, entrepreneurship, mindset, attitude, communication in workplace. So these are the areas. What I'm trying to say is, we also giving this soft skill free of cost for all the students across Bangladesh, millions, $100 million worth of the platform, and it's free of cost. We are not going to charge any single penny for any single student to learn from this website. We have already 7,500 students enrolled. So this is open for all. So the problem solved. Over to you.
No, I'm gonna just answer. I'm just gonna answer the second leg of the question that Nafeez Bhai asked on the back of Kamrul Bhai, right? I think it's a very generous offer. Everybody needs to jump on these whenever you can get. Whatever hands you can get to learn, please do. Please do. No learning is wasted. Now the question Nafeez Bhai asked is, how do you learn those things, right? The core textbook gives you knowledge, but your real life gives you the experience and the confidence that you bring your character to. Because every role requires some characters. And you need to start from your own life, from waking up in the morning, going to bed. And that's where you develop your skills. Some people are more talented, naturally talented than the other, but trust me, everybody needs to practice. And that's what needs to happen. You need to consistently practice taking all information you can before you make a decision. You need to consistently practice that you are morally doing the right thing. You need to consistently practice that, that you are thinking the pros and cons. You're evaluating a situation before you make a decision. You need to consistently practice you're talking when you're making a difference. You're not just talking because you need to talk. I think that these are all attributes that you all need. And the last piece that I forgot to mention is a very important one, is integration. You have to be able to integrate with everybody in the organization and an external world to be able to collaborate with people and communicate and try and getting the best out of them is another key soft skill that we all need. I hope this helped.
Okay, thank you for your answers. Over to Andrew.
I can answer the question by just looking at my background. These are all my books. The challenge to anybody who's young, and old as well, read. Books are great because the authors take time to really put something together. Audiobooks, real books, and take notes and try to learn. I studied everything I could about how to give a great presentation, and it made me a great presenter, and you've got to learn about it. And there's no shortcut to that. I'd say the other thing is, if you have to make a choice between a great company and a great boss, always pick the great boss, because a great boss will develop you. And that helps for all of us. I've had some great bosses along the way. I was going to tell you about a story about this morning. This morning, I had a meeting with the CEO of a company in Thailand. And you know what this company does? They buy bad loans and bad assets. And, when we talk about like what makes a good analyst, what makes a good person in their career, it's about knowing what to ask. It's just like when you go to the doctor and you've got back pain, and the doctor can go straight to where the pain is. And he can say, okay, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly what to do. I talked to this CEO for 2 hours. Now, think about that. As I left, I have one of my interns who's a Valuation Masterclass student. He's module 3, and he's a very serious student. And we left, and he was in the car with me, and I said, isn't that amazing? We had 2 hours with the CEO as an analyst. As an investment analyst, you get time with these guys. I said, that CEO has probably never spent 2 hours with any of his staff. His wife may not get 2 hours from him, but we got 2 hours of his time. And the point is that, you know, you got to have your foundation down so that you know your numbers, you know everything about it. But then you got to figure out, like that good doctor, where to point your finger, where to touch to figure it out. At the end of the interview, I had 2 questions for him that I asked. And I said, there's only 2 things that I really care about. Number 1, you're earning a return on equity of about 15 to 17%. It's not enough for your business and your industry. What can you do to increase that return? And are you going to do it? Number 1. Number 2, you are in an opportunity of a lifetime. You buy bad loans. This is your chance to make your business 10 times bigger. Are you going to take this chance, and how are you going to get the funds to do it? And the point is that these 2 questions are the challenging questions. And truthfully, the CEO he wasn't as convincing as I wanted him to be. And I had to, as an analyst, have to try to judge then, do I think he can do it? What do I think he can do? But we also had a great conversation about it. So I think my main point is, you know, learning soft skills is critical. Find a great boss, read everything you can, practice. That presentation I gave today, I practiced it a lot. In fact, I was just here in this room practicing before I gave it to you guys. Practice, practice, practice.
So you talked about 3 things. One is that when you have the dilemma about joining a great company versus a great boss, obviously we would want a great boss and a great company, but we often don't have that. So if there's a mutually exclusive decision, like you want to choose great company versus great boss, so your suggestion is to pick a great boss because they will reshape, they will shape you for the betterment. So you will learn things and do better. And another important things you talked about, like reading. We have a society that people don't read much. Kamal can correct me if I'm wrong. Like if people read a lot, we tell the person he's a bookish, he's nerdy, his every thought's coming from books. So these are the things, critical analysis people do. So how people can overcome that, and you can discuss more about the importance of reading. And the third thing is extremely important. You discussed, like, do your homework. So before this session, I knocked Kamal quite a few times. Like, Kamal, it's like, what will you do? When it will start? What are the sequence? We knocked him, we bugged him a lot because we are trying to have that preparation, because we don't want to go not in a single situation where I haven't taken any preparation. In fact, when I do take classes in Fridays and Saturdays, for the whole week, I take preparations. I study those. Even if that class I have done quite a few times, because every time it's a new thing, new customer, new people, new perspective. So you touched upon a very good, but if you can elaborate why we need to read, can you elaborate?
Andrew, just a minute. Since there is a book, Nafeez, Mr. Nafeez Bhai talked about the book, I'm going to give another announcement. Is that okay with you? We have to give some books as an prize. Here it is. We are running a competition, for this student, and thousands book we are giving it away for life changing. Our partner is rockamari.com. So here is the prize and how you'll get the book. We got 2 categories. That is, super achiever leadership category and super achiever knowledge seeker category. So those who are watching right now, if you're watching 10 sessions, within this summit and submitting the summary within 24 hours, 10 sessions only, you get at least 1 life-changing book. It could be Think and Grow Rich, into that type of book, right? A world-class book that has created a profound impact globally. 1 book, 1 certificate, 1 crest. 1 book, 1 certificate, and 1 crest. Physical crest, not online hunky-bunky thing. Physical crest, because people love to have it, showcasing it. Yeah, I'm a leader. We'll give you. And if you're champion into it, you have participated most of the sessions and submitted all this, summary, you get 5 books. You get championship certificate. You get champion crest. Is it all? No. I will give you coaching session for the champion to change for your life where you are now to where you want to go. Habit changing, transformation. Is it all? No. I'm going to invite top 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th on the live with us. I'm going to introduce for the nation. Yes, these are the champion knowledge, super achiever knowledge seeker. How about it, right? So go and get it in a pen and paper. You must submit today's lessons, whatever you have learned. So do not go away. So this is one. And the same award, Super Achiever Leadership. 1,000 people you got to register for our summit and invite for others to learn the soft skill free. If you're inviting, you get a link where our team going to give a link. Just refer your name, you get the same thing. Same book, 5 books, certificate, and everything. And right now we're going to go for a quiz, only 30 seconds more, because we want our student to learn. A quick quiz, and you got to respond fast, 10-second time, A, B, C, D, and you get a quiz master certificate and badge. Apply with, look at the quiz. And type A, B, C, D. In case you're doubting, which is the correct answer, the first 10 would get a certificate and in a quiz master. If you're not sure, type maybe once A, once another time B, another time C, another time D. It might work. Who knows? But the fastest one. Right. Time is yours. Next 10 seconds. Who's going to type it? We're watching A, B, C, D. Quick. Next 10 seconds, 9 seconds. We're going to respond it fast. You're going to get it. All right. The answer started coming. Okay. All right. Answer. Keep typing, keep trying. That's the step. From today, from now, you take the step immediate. Don't delay and don't wait for the opportunity to come in. This is the opportunity in the moment. You get it, you take it, and then submit the session summary, and then get a book. And then apply for the scholarship, $1,000 for each woman will get 100 female participant at least. So $100,000. That means 85 lakh taka worth of scholarship. What are you waiting for? Time is over. Remove the quiz. Thank you so much. Going towards end you.
Kamal, you're such an inspiration for all the people listening. Follow this man, right there. And you talk about having a good boss and working with good people. Contact them and say, I want to work with you. I want to help share, the words and the message. Now, Nafeez, you got to ask me the question again because I forgot. I was taking the quiz,
So can you please explain the importance of reading a bit more? Can you discuss a bit explain why it is important to read more and what should we read?
I think that, particularly in the world of finance, it's such a complex world and there's so much going on that, it's a little bit different. Let's say if you're an engineer, you're an architect, you're learning some very basic rules. We use the law of gravity. It's not a law that changes, and we can calculate many things from that. But the world of finance is constantly changing. In the world of business, competition is constantly changing. So it's not enough to have a foundation and think, okay, that's enough. But you're never going to get ahead with it. You've got to, work on learning. Now, I know that some of the people listening here say, oh, I don't want to read, or, that's okay. Do an audiobook, do a Kindle book, whatever it is, whatever your way is, find that way. For me, I'm not only a podcast host, but I'm a major podcast listener. And every day, I try to exercise every day, talk about soft skills. A critical soft skills is having endurance. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning and I've been running all day. I also know another soft skill, which is take a nap when you're tired. Don't try to deprive yourself of sleep. I take a nap every day after lunch. It's just a short one, maybe between 5 and 15 minutes. But the point is never deprive yourself of sleep. But if we go back to the whole learning, and reading, for me, it's podcasts. Every morning, I do a swimming routine, a yoga routine, and then I'll go for a walk. And when I do, I bring my headset and I listen to a podcast. And I'm stopping. I'll take notes, I've learned so much from it. So I just want to encourage people that you don't have to do it an old-fashioned way. If you don't like having the books in your hand, that's okay. I love that, but find your way. But, I had a friend of mine, who stayed at my house for a couple of weeks many years ago. And it's kind of the time that podcasts were coming out. And every time he took a shower, I heard him listening to a podcast. And I thought to myself, man, I've been wasting time. That 10, 15, 20 minutes I was in the bathroom, I could have been learning. So now, sorry for my neighbors, but every time I go take a shower, I get 10, 15 minutes of a great podcast. So bring that into your day and you're never going to regret it.
That's a great answer. As a great inspiration and great suggestion, Andrew. So I think we discuss about many different things. Any last word you wanna say, Sharif bhai, Shariful Islam bhai? Any last comments from your side?
Yeah, last comment, right? I think I'm going to summarize it in a very few key steps. I think if you are listening, whoever you are, you're a graduate candidate, experienced candidate, I think do your research, trying to get to know yourself. Don't limit your options. Speak to if you're interested in a large organization, trying to speak to them. If you want to pursue a professional qualification, speak to the organization, speak to the existing students, and try and get a flavor before, so you can make an informed decision what way you want to develop your career. There's a place for everybody in finance. If you are not a business student or accounting or finance student, don't limit yourself. I'm going to try and do your research before you can make your decision. The first, last, and the final, but not least, it's. I think we all need commitment. There is no hard and fast rule. Just because you've had a BBA, MBA, or CFA, you just go to. It's not inevitable you're going to become a CEO. That's not how it works. I think the world is competitive. The world, everybody needs to create values. Depends on what they do, where they do. And so you need a commitment, and most importantly, you need consistent hard work, and that's what will prevail your success, whatever that is. So just remember that before you get into the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. So it's like my question to same is like to Andrew, like if you want to give few last suggestions, but before I want to leave, so before that I want to make some comments as well. So there are many people watching this and they want to learn. So obviously it's a great opportunity to network as well. We didn't discuss about it, but there are other sessions that discuss about the importance of networking. So we can like use the social media and others and try to network, because this is a session we 4 people came together. We did not knew each other previously. Only Andrew and I are like we know each other through our CFA community, but before that we did not knew each other. And whoever thought like we would like, and when I seen that Kamal bhai is knocking me, I was thinking like how can it happen? So every single things matters, and it's like every time we can meet somebody, it gives us new opportunities. So it's like I'll ask one last comments from Andrew, and I'm leaving before that. So thanks to all of you, and thanks Kamal bhai for having such a great platform, and thanks Andrew. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So I would
close the session with the comments, please. Yeah.
I would just leave one last thing that I want you to think about for everybody listening. And I think Kamrul, you're someone that has experience in this as far as advising and coaching people. But basically, one of the lessons that I learned, when each of us, when we're young, we look inside of our hearts, we look inside of ourselves, and we know our weaknesses. We know our weaknesses very well. And we see other people that are successful and all of that, and we look at them and we think that they're great and all that. But what I want you to know is that everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has problems. Even someone like Robin Williams, the most successful, famous comedian of all time, killed himself because of his internal struggles. So I want to teach you one thing that someone taught me at a young age, and that is never compare your insides to other people's outsides. The way you feel inside, do not compare it to other people's outsides. So that is my challenge to everyone, because if you do that, you will understand that everybody has problems. We're all human. Let's help each other. Let's love each other.
Shariful bhai. So because our students, they're youth, they are young, right? So they are looking forward to, sometimes they don't know, they have the information, sometimes they don't know actually how to approach, where to approach. Sometimes they're confused, sometimes they don't know, okay, do I ask for it? Everything is available, mentors are available, books are available, but they don't know, they're not focusing. How you want to tell them, because things are in front but they don't see it, right? So what do you want to say them? Because resources are now plenty, that has become a problem.
For me, is it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I think. Look, I think if we were living in a perfect world, I'm going to be 17, finishing my A levels, going to BBA, and I'm going to do 3 years degree or 4 years degree, and I'm going to get a perfect job at my 21st, and I'm going to be progressing to CEO before I'm 30. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and that's not how life works. So don't beat yourself up about it. There is no numbers, there is no age should prevent you from developing and learning. Because if you ask a 19-year-old, do you know yourself? It's a very, very broad question. How is somebody, I didn't know. That's the truth, right? You get to know yourself through your life experience and the way your ups and downs, your falls and failures, and how you interacted, how you reacted to maybe a family trauma, maybe a friend's trauma, maybe a work situation where you ended up getting caught in a situation that you didn't want it to be. I mean, how did you cope with those pressures? How did you handle those pressures? And these tells you what kind of person you are, because that gives you an insight to yourself. And more often than not, you're going to get it right, but sometimes you are also going to get it wrong. So don't beat yourself up about it. Try and learn yourself those areas, and because that's important. The reason I say this is not in the detriment of Kamrul way. This is a brilliant platform, Andrew. Brilliant platform, such a generous offer, such a generous resources. What I don't want people to understand is just, in order for them to develop and be sound mind and start knowing yourself, they need to tag themselves to a computer 24/7 and listening to people or talking to people. That's not what we mean. I'm sure Kamrul and Andrew would agree. What we mean by is the resources and the support is there more than ever before for you guys. When you fall, when you trip, when you make wrong decision, when you don't know how to make a decision, please reach out, please learn, please talk to people, because someone like Andrew is there who's vastly experienced, well qualified, giving you that platform. Have someone like Kamrul giving you the platform. Please reach out, because you still have to live. You still have to apply this learning in your real life. So you can't be tagged to a computer and listening or reading all the time. You have to go and apply and make those mistakes and come back and ask for help. So I think the important thing is, as Andrew said, we're all human. We all make mistakes. So please don't be afraid to ask questions. Please don't be afraid to put your hand up and say, hey, I don't know. I'm stuck. How can you help me? What do I do? So please reach out. Know your person. Know the contacts. Know who you're going to go. We're going to go ask the questions. And this is very important, because we all in the same boat. We're all fighting our own battle. We all have our own challenges. And I agree with Andrew and Andrew Kamal. 100%.
Absolutely. Thank you. We are about to close. Just one quick question. We have a lot of people watching. So just quick answer probably from both of you. Even if it is somebody not going to build a finance as a profession, right? So how important it is for them to understand the finance, to become entrepreneur or to become a CEO or to become head of marketing or any profession. Just quick answer from both of you. 30 seconds.
Finance,
Andrew.
yeah, finance is a tool. And the key thing is that if you can learn how to use the tool of finance, it can help you in your business, it can help you in your life. Some people, you do not need finance to be a profession. If you can use finance as a tool, it can help you make better decisions. So that would be my answer.
Fantastic.
I'll echo Andrew. I think he described it a very, very simplistic way that for anybody to understand. Again, so but what I would add is finance give you the inside picture in a summary way that will help you to make an informed decision about your life, whether you're making a plan for a holiday trip, whether you go into a grocery shop, to basically you're developing your career.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, NTU, and also Mr. Shariful Islam, Sharif Bhai. We are grateful to you. Of course, NTU, you have given a plenty, and today about a crore taka worth scholarship for our students. That's amazing. It cannot be better than this. We are all grateful to you. We're coming back to you, and also Mr. Shariful Islam, Sharif Bhai, thank you so much from your busy schedule. Have given us time. So coming up, 2 more important sessions for the audience. I'm talking for 7:15 p.m. Leadership Excellence, where we are bringing from Harvard University, Madeleine McNeil from Harvard. She has design program in Harvard University and also Harvard Business School for the MBA graduate as well. Madeleine is coming up with Ranjan De Silva from Sri Lanka, with Jan Roberts from Netherlands, and who else? We got four from 4 different continents, and also I think I myself forgot, because there's a 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them from 4 different continents. So watch out on 7:15 p.m. If you and then Jump Open founder Ineke Hoekmans from Netherlands. So Netherlands, Ireland, Sri Lanka, and America. So 4 scholars coming up to share leadership excellence, how you can learn the simplest form of leadership excellence. That's coming up next after just 20 minutes. So watch out and learn from the best possible. Take notes, summarize it, submit it, win the books, and read the books and apply the books for your life. And apply for the scholarship. Come on, what else you want? So
absolutely.
That's it.
Kamal, I just want to add one thing. I'm sure we discussed a lot of things. If any candidates or prospective listener has any specific questions, I'm sure they can reach out to any of us through you, and we can answer that. That's not an issue. We can take our time, drop you an email back and a detailed answer.
Sure.
That shouldn't be an issue.
We are actually going to have a question bank from all the questions, because we got 1,500, let me see. We got 1,100 comments on today, 1,100 comments. So we'll put all the comments and questions. Already reached 20,000 people, as of now, this show. So we are getting all the questions and putting question bank. We'll reach out to you further, definitely. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew. Nice to meet you. And thanks, Kamal, for the platform.
Thank you,
absolutely
guys.
brilliant.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. And looking forward. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Everybody watching, please see the video. Augmedix, about Augmedix. What is Augmedix and what they do, and
কেমন চাকরি চাস?
মাল্টিন্যাশনাল কোম্পানি, ভালো স্যালারি, মাসের 1 তারিখে, 2 দিন ছুটি, 2টা বোনাস, দ্রুত প্রমোশন, আর সাথে হেলথ ইন্স্যুরেন্স, ভালো খাওয়া দাওয়া, খেলাধুলা, আর সাথে জিম, কাজ শেষে বাসায় দিয়ে আসা। আর কি লাগে?
এর জন্য আমার 50,000 বছর আগের কাঁচা ঘুমটা ভাঙালি? অগমেডিক্সে যা, সব পেয়ে যাবি।
Augmedix hiring scribes.
ও ভাই, ইংলিশটা একটু ভালো করে দিয়ে যান না।
And also, our career partner is Kormo by Google. So we'll be giving a link here. Please download Kormo app from your mobile, and আপনি যেটা করবেন যে create a profile from the Kormo by Google app and put your strengths and your skills. তাহলে যেটা হবে, আপনার এরিয়ার আশেপাশে যদি কোনো পার্ট টাইম কাজ থাকে যেটা আপনার সাথে মিলে যায়, ম্যাচ করে, তাহলে ওই অ্যাপ অটোমেটিক্যালি আপনাকে ওই জবটা অফার করবে, এবং সেটা আপনার আশেপাশে আপনার এলাকাতে অর্থাৎ ক্লোজেস্ট পসিবল এরিয়াতে। সো প্লিজ ডাউনলোড কর্ম বাই গুগল অ্যাপস, ইউ সি দ্য অন দ্য স্ক্রিন দেখাচ্ছে, যেটা ডাউনলোড করেন, প্রোফাইল তৈরি করেন, and get a job and have the experience. Nobody is stopping you. Come on. So this is the opportunity. You are studying, you work part-time and gain the experience and move forward. So this is Augmedix Presents Next Gen Leaders Virtual Summit in association with IPDC Finance, career partner Kormo by Google, our knowledge partner Rockomari.com, our gold partner Prime Finance and Investment Limited. Thank you everyone for watching, and do not forget to apply for the scholarship, because this scholarship can change your life. Please help others to know. Please share. এই মুহূর্তে যারা শুনছেন সবাইকে রিকোয়েস্ট করব, আপনারা শেয়ার করে দিন। আপনার আশেপাশে কোনো মানুষ যদি জানতে পারে, কোনো ফ্রেন্ড যদি জানতে পারে, your sister, your friends, your university batchmate, they will get immense benefit to apply for the scholarship and receive the scholarship. Every scholarship is about 85,000 taka worth of the program. So we are requesting you, please share. And please share. এখনো আপনারা যারা শেয়ার করেন নাই, আপনারা just click the button share quickly and share it at your profile and say apply for the scholarship. Somebody's life can change and you are helping them to change their life. This is the best possible way আপনি আজকে একজনকে হেল্প করতে পারেন. Looking forward. So please comment if you have shared it, type yes. We want to see who is going to share it, so that many people need to know actually this opportunity coming from CK's network platform. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to the next program. Take care.